skit called Brother Howard. We went all through, and it was about signing memories. So we took a live chicken. We presented the live chicken to the president and said, "You sign 5 members, I'll like get a chicken." Yeah, they signed their members.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. When's the next holiday?
But still,
Never.
Yes, you are, Candy Crush.
Good evening. I'd like to call the January 13th, 2025 meeting of the Adair County Board of Education to order. We're meeting at the Adair County Administrative Building in Manio, and the time is 5 p.m. Before we begin, I take a request for a moment of silence. Next on the agenda, I'll turn it over to Mr. Payne for the welcome.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our January meeting 2025. It's going to be a great year. I hope everybody had a great holiday, Christmas and New Year's. And looking forward to a little bit of a long stretch before spring break, I think is our next holiday. But I'd like to welcome everybody here. Thanks for coming tonight. Thank you. And right now, we're going to ask Mr. Spencer Twyford to step up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Twyford. First order of business tonight is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Payne. Do a second. Second by Mr. Bateman. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Aye carries. So we have agenda for the time. Next, I'll turn over to Ms. Hitch for public comment.
no public comment this evening, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Now we'll move to announcements and recognitions. I'd like to start out tonight to remind everyone that our winter art gallery is being presented for the next couple weeks, and it's being held at the Glen Ure Ghost Fleet Gallery. Lisa and myself, I know we were able to be there this past Saturday for the grand opening and watch beautiful paintings and drawings that our students have done and being presented. So if you have the opportunity and time, it's open from each day from 3 to 6, other than the 20th of January. So please take the time and go by and see some beautiful artwork. I also like to let everyone know that this coming Saturday at 11 a.m. at the Virginia Dare Center, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Ceremony will be taking place, and First Light High School course will be a part of that presentation and program. So if you have some time this coming Saturday, please head out to the Virginia Dare Center and watch a great celebration on a man that done very well for the group in the United States. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bassnight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I start with our recognitions, I do want to say on behalf of the board and Dare County Schools, Mr. Chairman, that your family and are in our thoughts and prayers today, and just want you to know that we're here if you need us. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So having said that, I want to take that a step further. This is a School Board Recognition Month. And on behalf of Dare County Schools, I would like to thank each and every one of you for the work that you do every day for the students in Dare County Schools, for your commitment to doing what's best for students, and for your willingness to work to make those things happen for our students and our staff in Dare County Schools. And I would like to present you with a little thank you. It's not much, but it's just something from our hearts to say we appreciate you. The next thing I want to talk about is our AVID Showcase at Manio High School. AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And as an AVID National Demonstration School, Manio High School provides a showcase visitation opportunity for other schools on how AVID is designed to transform everything from instruction to culture to ensure college and career readiness for all students. Manio High School is one of 8 AVID National Demonstration Schools in North Carolina and one of 213 in the entire United States. Manio High School would like to invite each of you to their AVID Showcase on February 12th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And if you have not already, I know some of you have, if you haven't already, please reach out to Miss Georgia and let her know so she can get you registered. Next, I would like to invite Miss Katie Sproul up to the podium. I want to read a letter that I received from the Department of Public Instruction addressed to Ms. Caitlin Sproul. The cross-program consolidation monitoring review that occurred in your public school unit has concluded. Dare County Schools has successfully met all statutory compliance requirements in the review conducted by the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction that occurred the week beginning November the 11th. Included in the review were the following programs. And it's not in the letter, this is massive. Just the amount of time that Katie spent putting this together was tremendous. Title I, Part A, Title I, Part D, Title II, Part A, Title III, Part A, Title IV, Part A, Migrant Education Program, and Rural and Low-Income Schools. Thank you to the staff within your public school unit for working closely with your DPI program administrator to meet all applicable federal program requirements for your PSU. And Katie, if you would tell us a little bit about what the cross-program consolidated monitoring is.
Sure. So good evening, everybody. I haven't had the privilege of meeting every one of you yet, but welcome. So this was, like Mr. Bassnight said, a pretty big undertaking, but it was not done by solely myself. And so I would be remiss to say, you know, there was a lot of the finance side. The schools, 2 of the principals are sitting in the back, and they took a heavy load of this as well. And so it's not just Katie Sproul. But it was, so what it is like Mr. Bassnight said, there are the different pots of federal money that we receive from the federal government, and they have a lot of requirements that you have to meet. You can't just spend the money on anything. And so Title I is specifically for our Title I schools, and those are our schools that have a high percentage of socioeconomic status, free and reduced lunch percentages. Title II is for our improving teacher performance and principal performance. Title III is for our multilingual learners, so our students that English is not their first language. And then Title IV is for well-rounded students. And so that looks at technology, social workers, things like that. And so it was a pretty big undertaking, but it wasn't just the schools, it was also we had to do school visits. So we had to do that over 2 days because of just the geography of Dare County being Hatteras. And so shout out to Hatteras Elementary. We pivoted really quick. Well, actually, it was a shout out to all 4 schools because we were going to do it over 2 days. And then we had a rainstorm come in and we knew that we weren't going to be able to get to the schools. And so we fit it all into 1 day instead of 2. And then we had parent interviews, teacher interviews, principal interviews, and then central office interviews. So it was a lot of people involved in this. And, the main thing they look for is, are you spending the funds appropriately? Because there are certain things you can and cannot spend the funds on. So they look at that. And then they also look at, okay, is what you're saying in your plan, because we have to submit a plan every year as well, is what you're saying in your plan, what we're actually seeing in the schools and what the parents are telling us and what the teachers are telling us and what the principals are telling us. So it's not just a dog and pony show. It's actually happening. What you're saying is going to happen. So, I appreciate the kudos, but I really give a kudos to the teams that were in the interviews because I was just kind of in the background. So Kelly Flora, Rachel Benton, Curtis Price, Sarah Fletcher are the principals of the Title I schools, and then all of our central office team as well. So shout out to everybody. So it's a big undertaking, but we did it.
You did a tremendous job.
We did
Thank
it.
you,
So
everyone. Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Emerson Mann to come to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. So DP and I have been corresponding quite a bit lately. Another letter from Dr. Michael Marr, who is the outgoing deputy superintendent at DPI. And it reads, the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program was established by President Lyndon Johnson in 1964. And since that time, the program has honored over 8,000 outstanding high school seniors. The mission of the program is to recognize and honor outstanding high school seniors and thereby encourage high attainment among all students. The U.S. Department of Education Presidential Scholars Program will reach out to students in mid-January 2025 to invite them to apply directly to the Commission on Presidential Scholars. Candidates will go through an application process at the national level, and the Commission on Presidential Scholars will notify the semifinalists in mid-April. Scholars will be announced in May of 2025. Based on our local recommendation, Mr. Emerson S. Mann has been selected by the NC Department of Public Instruction Presidential Scholars Nomination Committee to move forward as a state nominee in the next round of the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program. Emerson represents the best of North Carolina students based on the outstanding scholarship qualities in the general education category. All scholars selected by the Commission on Presidential Scholars are honored for their accomplishments during the online National Recognition Program and are awarded the U.S. Presidential Scholars Medallion. Scholars selected from North Carolina will be honored at the State Board of Education meeting in early June 2025. Congratulations, Emerson, on this nomination and best wishes in the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program process.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Emerson. That's awesome. Last thing I want to notify you in announcements of tonight is some maintenance projects that were taking place over winter break from the time the kids left in December until we came back in January. Several things throughout Dare County Schools that took place over that time. The rock pathways on the playground at Cape Hatteras Elementary School were removed. There was some situation with those rocks where we put the rocks down to make it more accessible, and the rocks started moving around. So we glued the rocks with some spray that they used to keep them from exiting where they actually put them. And we still had some problems with access, as well as some students falling on the rocks on the playground. So we decided to pull those out, and we're going to go in a different direction. So that took place. We cleaned around and trimmed the large oak tree on the back of the Manteo Elementary School playground and started some work in the Manteo Elementary gym. We finished replacing gutters on the back of Manteo High School and have a meeting scheduled for this Thursday with the architects on the new locker room and public restrooms. We replaced an air handler unit at First Flight Elementary School. We dealt with some field issues and replaced gym entrance doors at First Flight Middle School. Resurfaced the First Flight High School gym floor. If you remember that we had that done in August and it was not done well. So we brought a new company in over Christmas to redo it. They did an outstanding job. We'll be using them with some of our other floors. And we ordered replacement scoreboards for the First Flight High School gym. Those went down right during the basketball tournament. So we've had TVs installed to use since then. We trimmed the trees around the First Flight campus complex. And the last thing I would like to do is I'd like to welcome several of our new employees to the maintenance department. Joe Garrett will work with our HVAC. Mason Burney is going to work in general maintenance. And Thomas Finley is our new electrician, and he started with Dare County Schools on January 6th. So we're happy to have those folks to help us out. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Thank you very much, Board.
Thank you, Mr. Bassnight. Maintenance has been hard at it. Good group of employees there, so we appreciate everything they do for us. Next, we'll turn it over to our student advisor. Emerson, would you like to start it out? Thank you, sir.
Well, good evening. I'm Emerson Mann, go to First Flight High School. I'll be reading over the board highlights from each of the schools in my district. Let me situate this thing here. There we go. So first up, we have Kitty Hawk Elementary. Kitty Hawk Elementary School fifth graders had an amazing visit with performances from the FFMS chorus, band, and orchestra. They listened to holiday-themed songs and learned about their choices for participating in music programs in middle school next year. Thank you, Mr. Buford, Ms. Blackstock, and all the other FFMS staff who helped make this event a success. Before the break, KHES held a pajama day, and the gym was full of the fifth graders reading to kindergarten students, paired up in twos and threes. It was wonderful to see the kindness and sweetness as they read books and discussed the stories together. An after-school Lego club was planned and proposed to the principal by our fifth grade student, Curran Hyatt. They now meet weekly to create, build, and share with Legos. Next up, First Flight Elementary. Let's see if I can, there we go. First Flight Elementary is having an exciting month filled with community partnerships. Remember the Book It program from Pizza Hut that encouraged kids to read? FFES has teamed up with Harbor Grill and Pizza to create a similar initiative called Pages for Pizza. Any children who reads for 20 minutes each night for 20 days in January will earn a free pizza at Harbor Grill and Pizza. It's a fun and engaging way to motivate students to read. All kids are welcome to join this program. You can get a copy of your Pages for Pizza goal sheet at Harbor Grill and Pizza. All FFES students went home with their goal sheet, and all staff are motivating our students to read for cheese. The students are also hard at work on their STEM projects in the preparation for STEM night on January 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m. Many grade levels are partnering with local experts to connect their projects to real-world careers in Dare County. For instance, the third grade class is welcoming a physical therapist to discuss the skeletal systems and its connection to their project. We're thrilled to offer these opportunities for our students and look forward to seeing everyone at STEM night on January 23rd. Next up, First Flight Middle School. The weeks before the holidays were bustling with celebrations. The music department held 2 different concerts combined with the high school students to put us in the holiday spirit. Miss Blackstock, Miss Carothers, and Mr. Buford also took their show on the road and visited all 3 feeder elementary schools to share our love of music with rising middle school students. In order to give the teachers and staff the gift of time, they held a holiday-themed pep rally on Thursday before break. Miss Harris, who loves a microphone, along with Miss Brinkley and Miss Cece, all organized a Truth or Dare team activity by grade level, in addition to reindeer games connected to the song, The 12 Days of Christmas. It was a loud 2 hours, but it was a blast. Our return to the new year has been off to a wonderful start. We have 19 students whose artwork was chosen for the Dare County Schools Art Show. Furthermore, we are proud to announce that the 3 of our students have earned top honors in North Carolina Career Development Associates Poetry and Contest. This year's theme was Creating My Career Path, Embracing Change in My Journey. Lucia Weinstein won first place for her narrative poem titled, What Do You Want to Be? Cadence Graham won second place for her poem titled, Science. Lastly, River Idlet won third place for her creative poem titled, Embracing Change. Next up, First Flight High School. It is my pleasure to share the many highlights and successes from First Flight High School as we reflect on a strong first semester and look forward to an even brighter second half of the school year. Our students and staff have worked diligently to successfully complete the first semester, showcasing incredible dedication, perseverance, and a commitment to excellence. We are proud to announce that our CTE Take Flight Cafe has been an overwhelming success, providing our students with invaluable hands-on learning experiences while delighting the entire school community with their creativity and skill. The Fine Arts Department demonstrated their talent and passion by packing the Davids Oaksmith Auditorium for our winter chorus, strings, and band concerts. These performances were nothing short of spectacular and served as a true testament to the dedication of our students and staff. As we embark on the second semester, our scholars are eager to take flight and continue striving for academic, artistic, and personal growth. On behalf of the entire First Flight High School community, thank you for your continued support and belief in our mission to help every student take flight. We look forward to sharing more achievements with you as we continue to fly through the school year. And last but not least, Nags Head Elementary. NHES is excited to launch the One School, One Author event. This year, NHES will be celebrating the famous children's author, Roald Dahl. Each grade level had the opportunity to decide which Roald Dahl book they would like to read. NHES is looking forward to reading and learning together over the next 2 months. We will wrap up our event on March 6th with our annual Title I Family Literacy Night. More information will be released soon. The second 9-week awards assemblies will take place on Friday, January 17th. We will be recognizing outstanding effort and excellence from the last grading period. NHES will also be recognizing the outstanding behavior of students with our second 9-week PBIS celebration on January 30th and January 31st. NHES would like to wish everyone a happy new year. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Spencer Twyford, a senior at Manio High School, and here are the highlights for my district. Manio Elementary School teachers made it a priority to stay connected to all of their students over holiday break. Whereas a school, we organized and mailed personal affirming letters to each one of our students. These letters ensured that each student was reminded over break that we love them and are looking forward to see them in the new year. It is also special to see how our 4th grade team surprised their students with the hallway and classroom transformations as students return from break to embrace the novel study that they are doing with their students this quarter. Also, all 4 Emmanuel Elementary School's Dare Education Foundation grant recipients have already gone ahead and finalized purchases for their materials, and it has been exciting to see these new books, Spanish-English translators, and art panels are enhancing student opportunities. On January 23rd, our 1st grade team is hosting a Snow Much Fun family engagement night for all of our parents, where they will be serving hot cocoa and teaching parents about literacy strategies that they can do at home while working through science of reading tips. These tips ensure that all parents leave with hands-on resources. Lastly, as part of our school improvement team goal, We are excited to be able to have targeted and specific professional learning opportunities this month for our teachers. These opportunities are great partnerships with the community, and we will enjoy this time working together at the College of the Albemarle campus and the Dare County Emergency Management Center in Manio. Manio Middle School had a great holiday concert with a packed house. Students have been earning Spirit points for participation on Spirit Days. The reward was a holiday assembly with staff versus students, relay races, and basketball games. This past Saturday, Manio Middle School had 44 students' artwork on display at the Glen Year Art Gallery show. Congratulations to those students. Eighth grade student Sawyer Fleckenstein won both the local post and district veterans essay contests. Sawyer will now compete at the state level. Also, 8th grader Aubrey Walker won the anti-bully poster competition sponsored by the Hotline and Save Promise Club. Manio High School finished off the fall semester with a wonderful holiday concert that was enjoyed by a full house. MHS was recently named the School of the Week by the North Carolina School Board Association for our new boat building. Students and Mr. Hathaway are doing a great job. We would like to share that our students are doing a phenomenal job with volunteer hours. They have put in over 680 hours to date. Congratulations to this year's publication and yearbooks class for all their hard work. They are currently outpacing last year's sales in yearbook ads. Second semester is off to a smooth start, and we now have a full implementation of OpenGate. Last but certainly not least, we would like to congratulate Mrs. Suzanne Pack for a 100% passing rate for the Math 3 EOC. What an amazing accomplishment. Cape Hatteras Secondary School students just dedicated their time to preparing for the first semester exams while also gearing up for second semester classes. The CHSS band delivered a phenomenal concert showcasing their talent and hard work. The marching band participated in the festival Hatteras Village Club Parade, achieving an impressive first place in the parade competition. Both middle and high school students took part in a week-long Spirit League, proudly displaying their amazing holiday spirit through various themed activities. In the final days leading up to the holiday break, middle school students engaged in holiday-related STEM activities through the rotational seasons, promoting creativity and collaboration. Cape Hatteras Elementary School, December was filled with festive learning and celebration at our school. The highlight of the month was our Holidays Around the World event, where students embarked on an exciting journey through the building. Exploring how different cultures and countries celebrate the holiday season, the immersive experience broadened our students' cultural awareness and fostered a spirit of global understanding. We also held our second quarter surf assembly, recognizing students who exemplified our core values by using their heads to make good choices and showing gratitude. Looking ahead to January, we are excited to begin collecting data to measure and celebrate growth across all areas of student development. This initiative reflects our commitment to continuous improvement and ensuring that every student's progress is recognized and supported.
Thank you both for giving us an update for all of our schools. We're going to take a short just recess right now. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Next item on our agenda is the approval of consent agenda. Do I have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda.
A motion on the floor by Mr. Bateman,
Second.
second by Mr. Payne. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. We have a consent agenda. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Creef and Mr. Malcolm Farron to the podium to give us an update on the Dare County Housing Task Force. Welcome.
Good evening. Seems like we were just here, I guess it was back in August, how time flies. Mr. Fearing is do you want to come up here? You want to start or do you want to, I'll let him end. When I was talking to Chairman Twitty the other day, I said, how long do you guys want us to talk? And he said, well, Donna, you can talk as long as you want to. Malcolm only has 3 minutes. Anyway, thank you for having us back here this evening, and we're going to talk about the 2024 report that the Dare County Housing Task Force completed back in December. When we were here in August, we just gave a brief overview of what the task force had been doing and what the task force, the members and who all was on that. So I'm going to run through my presentation, and then Malcolm's going to add on some comments to that, and then we'll take any questions that the board members or the staff may have. So, as I said, in December, the task force adopted a 2024 report that was adopted by unanimous vote. Vice Chair Payne is on the task force, and he was there when we made that vote. And so the report summarizes all of the research that we did over the past several months and our presentations that we had heard. It presents statistical information on housing, and it makes conclusions and a set of tasks and priorities for 2025. I've included on the slide there the address, the web address on the Dare County webpage where a copy of the report is available to the general public. I know that Mr. Payne shared a copy with you guys, and hopefully you've had a chance to browse through that. It's about 66 pages long. It's a pretty quick read. There's some aerial photos in there, so it's not all reading. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, hopefully you'll be able to do so. If you're up late one night and you really don't have anything to do, you can browse through that. So the report summarizes all of our work, and we've narrowed it down to 4 main components: available, attainable, sustainable, and acceptable. And the report flows through those 4 components: available housing, housing inventory, land for housing, housing that is available for long-term occupancy, and housing that is available on a perpetual basis. Attainable housing, meaning housing that is attainable for our residents so that they're not cost burden. Cost burden equates to if you spend more than 30% of your household incomes on housing. That's your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance. Sustainable housing, the ability to maintain your home once you are able to purchase a home with the rising cost of insurance and maintenance cost. Housing also has to be sustainable from the perspective of the construction of it. It has to be resilient and be able to withstand the natural hazards that we all deal with here on the Outer Banks. And then last but not least, it needs to be acceptable to the community. It needs to be consistent with the local zoning. It needs to be consistent with the aesthetics of our neighborhood and the scales of our neighborhood. Some statistics that we pulled together during our research: the median home sale price in 2003 was $325,000. And then I've got some other numbers in there. You'll see the median home price in 2020 was just shy of $382,000. And then in October of 2024, when I pulled these numbers together, and these numbers are pulled from data from the Outer Banks Association of Realtors, you'll see that the median home sale price was $622,000. So that represents a 63% increase from that 4-year period of 2020 to 2024. So that's quite a jump. The median household income for Dare County is just shy of $80,000, and That's a number that comes from the American Community Survey that's affiliated with the census. Granted, that's a 2022 number, but it hasn't risen that much to where we are now. And so when you take that number and apply that 30% metric for your household housing expenses, you'll see that it's right there at $24,000. And then I've also thrown in another statistic in there that 30% of the households in Dare County are considered cost burden. So 30% of the households in Dare County are paying more than that 30% metric on their housing expenses. These numbers may not show up for the folks in the audience, and I don't even know if I can see them here myself, but you'll see that we have a lot of houses in Dare County. It's just that they're not all occupied by our year-round residents. Our vacation rentals are mainly housed in year-round single-family homes, not year-round, but single-family homes. And so you'll see these graphs are broken down by the individual villages. The total housing number is that bottom number. The blue number is the vacant number, and then the yellow is the occupied. And so you'll see there, Duck, clearly they have a small number of what's considered occupied homes because they have a small number of year-round residents. And then you'll see Kill Devil Hills has a large number. It's pretty split. Manio Inn and Roanoke Island unincorporated, you'll see that they have larger numbers of the occupied numbers there. So housing, the units itself, it's not that we don't have them, we just have a lot of houses and the tenure of those are such that they're not year-round occupied. This is just expanding on some of those median home sales. The graph demonstrates the increased percentages as we go from the period of 2015 to 2024. We average along at a small percentage rate, and then there's that bump there in 2020 that goes up 12.8%. In 2021, it took a big jump, 21.2%. Again, another big jump, 23.1%, and then it's even back out. So that's a pretty significant jump again in those 4 years. The median sales price by geographic area, so this is just breaking that down. You'll see that, again, Duck, where we have the large number of vacation rentals, that has the highest median sales price. Collington, which is mostly a year-round market bed, there is right at $517,000, and you'll see the other numbers for the other villages there. And again, these numbers are based on data from the Outer Banks Association of Realtors. And so now we included some salary data, and you'll see in there I've got data that you provided me on Friday afternoon. Thank you for that. We just wanted to present some salary numbers in there so that it relates to what the housing costs are. And you'll see that we have in there first-year teacher, other salary information for the teachers. We have a police officer in there, an admin specialist, an office manager. And you'll see that most of those hiring salaries are less than that average median income, but still they're all in the general same range there. We've taken an example of applying those salaries to what those home prices are. And I use the example of Collington and Roanoke Island just because they represent year-round neighborhoods, if you will. We listed the median sales price for each of those districts. We applied a calculations of 6% mortgage rate, 1% for your tax, 1% for your insurance, and then we figured the tax rate in there, so you see what that monthly payment is for each of those examples. We've listed the annual payments, and then you'll see what that required household income is. So for Collington, with the median sales value of $517,000, to qualify for a mortgage for that house, you would have to make $171,000. The median adjusted income for Collington is significantly below that amount. And you'll see that last number that we have there is that what that home sales price equates to that median value, that median household income is. And then we've done the same thing for Roanoke Island, and you'll see that there's a considerable gap there in between that median home price that the income qualifies for and what the actual median sales price is. Under the acceptable category, what we went in and we examined, how land use affects the housing and what's acceptable to the community in terms of the zoning and the scale and the aesthetics. And some of the options that are used in other areas and then are also used in some of the communities in Dare County do allow some of these options. What we're finding is that accessory dwelling units are something that is proven to be a successful way for housing options to be expanded. They also can be used to house family members, and they provide additional income for those folks that have those accessory dwelling units. Duplexes and small-scale multifamily being up to 4 units. That there seems to be community acceptance for the smaller scales. And this is not just in Dare County, this is in North Carolina and nationwide. But particularly here in Dare County, there doesn't seem to be an appetite for those large-scale multifamily. And one of the other options that some of the communities in Dare County use and that we've recognized that may be an option moving forward is having housing at some of the commercial sites, second floor occupancy, but also having those commercial properties be able to build an accessory structure and compatible with what you would see as the residential ADU. And then our research indicates that the way that you can address some of that tenure is that you apply deed restrictions. This has been used in some of the western counties out in North Carolina and in some of the western states that we heard presentations from. One of our success stories, and I know you guys are very familiar with this, is in 2004, there was legislation adopted that granted the Dare County Board of Education the ability to build teacher housing. It actually has a title of teacher and local government housing. That legislation has been used successfully to construct units in Kill Devil Hills. And in Buxton, there's 24 in Kill Devil Hills and 12 in Buxton. And I know that they have proven to be very successful recruiting tools for the Board of Education. There's other units under consideration in Kill Devil Hills. The study also contemplates a third site on Roanoke Island in the mainland. And the 2024 report that the task force adopted talks about how we'd like to build on that success. One of the things that we've established during our research is that, North Carolina is what they call a Dillon's Law state. And so anything that local governments do, they have to have that authority granted to them by the North Carolina General Assembly. The 2004 legislation is an example of that enabling legislation. We often hear, well, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? This seems like an easy, option or easy solution to the housing. Well, a lot of those solutions that we have recommended to us, the counties and the local governments don't have the right to do that. They don't have the authority under North Carolina law to do that. Since we already have the 2004 legislation in place, the task force was, of the opinion, well, that's already there. It anticipates local government housing. What exactly can you do with that? So we're hoping to expand on that research and hopefully work with you all to maybe see how, what other units can be constructed for teacher housing or local government using that legislation that talks about nonprofit work and all that. The other thing that we will be focusing on is community outreach. You'll notice that I've put that language in there in purple to represent that we're working with East Carolina University. They are currently working on a study, Workforce Housing Community Attitudes. They will be holding some public meetings here in the spring of 2025. They will be conducting an online survey, and I believe that they've done some stakeholder interviews. I don't know if they talked to Chairman Payne or not. I know that they've talked to several people in the community. So that's underway. We've been going around doing presentations at local governments. You guys are our first ones tonight to the Board of Education. We're going to go speak to the chamber next week, and then we'll be making the rounds with some of the other local governments in February. And then as we move forward, whatever other outreach efforts we are identified by our outreach subcommittee, we'll be completing them. Again, we're trying to get the word out there, trying to make it so that it's more relatable to the community so that they understand what our efforts are and who we're trying to help in our efforts. Moving forward, the big news this past week is that the Dare County Housing Task Force, the Dare Community Housing Task Force, I'm sorry, let me correct myself there. We had applied to a UNC School of Government initiative called Our State, Our Home. It's an 18-month program that will be kicking off next week. It was a highly competitive process. There were 14 teams selected, and our application was one of those. We will be receiving in-depth and extensive training from the UNC School of Government over the course of the next 18 months. We have a core group of individuals from the task force that will be attending sessions over the course of those 18 months. We're looking forward to that information. I'm not sure we really know what it is that we're getting from them. Hopefully we'll have more insight on that after our kickoff meeting on the 16th. I think some of the other teams that have been selected are further along in this journey than we are. But we, quite honestly, when we applied for it, I remember sitting in one of the task force meetings and saying, I don't think we're going to get this, but I think we probably need to apply for it. And so, lo and behold, I don't know if they, drew their names out of the hat or what, but we're on the list. So we'll see how that goes with that. But we are pretty excited about that. I can't see where we're not going to glean any valuable information out of it. I think that it'll be a very, I think as we move forward, we can only, I just don't see it as not being something positive for us to put our time in. As I said, there's 5 core members on it that are going to have to be doing the majority of the work. And so we'll see how that goes. It's myself and Mr. Fearing, Andy Garman, who's the town manager for the town of Nags Head, Matt Neal, who's the mayor pro tem from Southern Shores, and Mr. Anthony Fletcher, who's down on Hatteras Island. So we'll be working on that, and then we'll get work assignments that the task force will have to do. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm going to stop right there and let Mr. Fearing talk, and then if you have any questions, we'll take those.
Steve, your daddy'd be proud of you. I hope he'd be thinking about me too, about right now. Why are we here? I've got a little different take on it. I looked at your agenda, and I know each and every one of you are proud of the presentations and the work of your staff, your student advisors, and the success of your school. This could not be done without staff and students. And when we talk about teacher housing, teachers are extremely important in your organization, but your organization is much more than just teachers. Your administrators, custodians, advisors. It's a pretty large organization made up of a lot of people. We used numbers from first-year teachers on out to 20 years. We didn't have the data to talk about some of the forgotten ones in your organization and the dedication they have to make you successful. Ron, I have to shout you out. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the task force. And David calls all the time about housing. So you all have done something that was done 31 years ago. Your legislation might even been one of the first ones in the state. Certainly it was one of the new ones that addressed housing. You're ahead of the game. But we're falling behind now in Dare County from the numbers that Donna told you. She talked about buying homes. Okay. There are people that rent homes also. And something that we learned when talking with some property managers, to give you an example, there's a new property in Manio that has rental houses. A 2-bedroom house is over $2,000 a month, $2,200 for rent. For rent. What does that matter? A $50,000 income, first year, second year, third year, teacher. Brings in about $3,300 a month. But what do they have to pay? If they're renting something, maybe $2,000. They also have to pay property taxes, health insurance, student debt, maybe some have daycare. And this is one that I put down to internet. Does anybody ever look at your internet bill? That's more than what my first house payment was. And I have bare minimum internet, even though I do have artificial intelligence helping me. Something that you should be proud of in reading the report. You have unanimous support from the task force in housing. That isn't done very often in the political arena in Dare County, to get everybody together and to agree. But they did agree that teacher housing is needed on Roanoke Island. And that's every elected body, it's representative on this board. Well, why is that important? Roanoke Island has more than just your schools, whether they be an elementary, middle, high school, or soon to be early college. It also has COA and coastal studies. And we're all doing this to try to make available opportunity for the people that live here. In reading your budget the other day, and I didn't read the whole thing, but I did get a number out of it. And you all know this number, but the general population doesn't. Your budget is right at $75 million a year. And what do you do with it? You don't give grants for sidewalks and publication. You teach kids. That's what you do. You invest your money in them. And I say y'all doing a pretty good job. Better than what I was at that age. But I'll tell you something that struck me out of that number. I have a granddaughter, number 7, my youngest. She's going into, she's in the 1st grade. In 12 years of education at current funding, that would be $900 million spent on that group of students. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money even for Washington. What kind of investment are we going to have for our people, our brightest? Now maybe they'll go on to Apple or Google or X or something like that. But hopefully they'll come home. As Colburn in Mans Harbor told me, he's 10 years old, said, Colburn, you like Mans Harbor. You're from Mans Harbor. Yes, sir, I am. You're proud of being from Mans Harbor, aren't you? Yes, sir, I am. Don't you want to come back and live in Mans Harbor? Yes, sir, I do. That's why this issue is so important that we take up. I've been, and actually Todd and I have been in this, we can trace it back to the late 80s that we've been talking about this issue. And the numbers that you've seen in her report, and I would compliment and congratulate Donna on her penmanship on this report. It's not our data. It's other people's data. As this number, There's a group in North Carolina Department at UNC that tracks population. And what they say, by the year 2030, we're going to have 4,558 new people in Dare County. That's not my number, that's their number. For us to continue to grow as a county, we're going to have young people. We're going to have administrators. We're going to have teachers. We're going to have custodians for our community to continue to grow. So what I'm trying to do is make it relatable. The situation in Dare County has gotten where many of us, my family included, have been extremely blessed by the good fortunes of Dare County. But we've also been here a while. My first house was $178 a month. That's what it was. What will their next house look like at the trajectory we're going in now? So thank you for this opportunity to talk to you. I hope that this will be more than just a information going out to you, because what we're doing, hopefully, is wanting to receive information back on how to address this issue. So thank you. And if you have any questions, Donna, I'm sure answer any.
Thank you, Malcolm and Donna. Is there any questions from any board member at this time?
I don't have any questions, but
Yeah, make a comment. He has a comment. Mr. Payne has a comment.
Don and Malcolm, it's been a pleasure working with y'all for this past year. We've learned a lot, a whole lot. And you two know more about the issue than I do. So I've tried to keep up with you guys. But I want to say hats off. Even though there's 28 folks on that task force and 3 committees, subcommittees, you two have done one heck of a lot of work, and I appreciate it. And I want everybody to know how much work you guys have actually put in, attending all subcommittee meetings, doing all kinds of things, and then coming back and reporting back to the task force. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Malcolm, I want to piggyback on what you said. Our 2 friends sitting over there, they'll go to college in 4 years. Can they come back here and live? I want people to understand that affordable housing is necessary in Dare County so they can come back home, like you said earlier. So that we can get teachers to come and live and stay here, along with police, restaurant workers, so forth and so on. It's imperative that we take a look at, accept affordable housing, and with the task force, we're going to do it the right way. What have you always said, Malcolm? We're going to do it, but we're going to do it the right way. And I think in about a year from now, people are going to be proud of what we put together and get ready to hopefully build so that our young folks, like you said, can come back here and stay in our community. So once again, appreciate the hard work that you all have done. And hopefully, once again, you said it in a different way, the East Carolina, how'd you put it, Donna, the attitudes?
The workforce housing community attitude study.
Attitudes. There's another word for it, what I won't say, but this community has to understand we need affordable housing. And speaking from a Board of Education, for our teachers to come in and for our students to be able to come back. And appreciate all the work you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. And Donna, Malcolm, thank you for the presentation tonight. And it's a pleasure for us, the Board of Education, to be part of this task force. It is truly a community organization, and we just thank you so much for letting us be part of it.
Thank you for having us.
I do have a question, if I may.
Sure.
Sir.
It seems to me that the North Beaches, Currituck County, has a lot of stake in the game here too. Are we talking, or do we have plans, or can we even advance the scope of this project to include Currituck County? There's a lot more land over the bridge.
Well, we could certainly, that seems an obvious solution. I don't know if there is the political will to do so in Currituck County. I know that they're struggling with growth and all there in their community, in the northern end of their community. I listen to all their board meetings or attend their board meetings, and so I hear their comments, and there doesn't seem to be a an opportunity at this time for us to do that. Certainly, in the future, we would be open to whatever, but it just seems to be that they've got their own thing going up there right now. So we're trying to focus our issues and take care of ourselves here. So.
Hey, Matt, I'm gonna add on to that a little bit. What we put forward, we call it a generational plan. There is inventory of land in Dare County to address this issue for some time in the future. And I think we have identified that through the different groups that have served on the different committees that we've had. And there'll be more to hear about that in the future. But we believe that we can solve our issue here in Dare County, because even if it's moved to Dare County, there's the land cost. And in Dare County, that's in excess many times over $100,000. So that's why we advocate in the plan to look at government-owned land, such as y'all have done with your teacher housing projects that have been so successful. So,
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
anything else?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Ms. Katie Sproul, the Director of Elementary Education. Welcome back.
Thank you. I am also joined by Reese Lamberg. And she, for those of you who are new to the game, I am Katie Sproul. I'm the Director of Elementary Education for Dare County Schools. This is Reese Lamberg. She is with NCDPI, but she is our early literacy specialist. And she was a former Teacher of the Year for Dare County Schools. So she's just on loan to DPI for the moment. And, she's not gone for good. And she's still here. And so also, if you are new, welcome to my comedy show. No, I'm kidding. So we are here for Unlocking Potential, the impact of literacy on student success. And so you have heard a lot about, or if you have been following the board meetings, Reese and I have spoken a lot over the last couple of years about the literacy scores and the science of reading and the shift that is happening. And so we are going to present some information to you tonight and ask for your help. So we're going to start with a simulation. Okay, get ready. Put your thinking caps on, everybody. So this is the question. So I want you to take a moment to read this, and then I'm going to give you a passage. Okay. All right, are we ready? Ready, set. All right, here's your passage, okay? So this passage has about 20 blanks. So it's about 83% accuracy. So you have about 83% of your words there, okay? So I'm gonna let you see the question one more time. And I'm going to move it to that. So now you have just about 90%. You have 12 blanks now. So with that, would you be able to answer the question that was given to you at the beginning? Yes, no? Rhetorical question. You don't have to answer. Here's the question, or here's the passage with all of the words. So 100% of the words are given. So this is just a little exercise, and it's funny because we were trying to find something that very few of you, or hopefully none of you, would have any prior background knowledge on. It is from about Reese's hometown in Indiana. So it was really like we were hoping that nobody would know anything about Indiana. But as you can see, even 83% accuracy makes it very difficult to understand what is in a passage if you don't have any prior background knowledge. And so it really kind of hits home that even though we say we would love for 80% of our kids to be proficient in reading, you're still leaving behind. I mean, you're leaving a lot of gaps, right? And so it shows the importance of striving for 100%. Okay, so this was just kind of like, and this is a really cool activity. We've done it with school administrators and teachers. And when teachers went through letters training, they went through something similar to that. And it's kind of like, oh, wow, I really don't know. So that was just kind of activity. Thank you for bearing with me through that.
And if you are anything like me and you will not be able to forget about it until you know the answer, the correct answer is B. So if you want to go back and look at it later, you can. Like Katie said, my name is Reese Lamberg, and I'm honored to be in the position that I'm in to be able to support Dare County Schools, our students and our teachers, as we work to correct some of the things that are happening in our nation right now. This is not a Dare County Schools problem. This is not a North Carolina problem. This is a national problem that we are facing right now in regards to literacy. So at the moment, 21% of adults in the United States are illiterate. And the definition of functional illiteracy means not being able to read even a basic sentence and comprehend relatively short texts. 21% is a phenomenal number in the United States to have of adults who are illiterate. 54% of adults in the United States function below a 6th grade level in literacy. Over half of our nation performs below a 6th grade level. And that is, it feels like a gut punch to me. I don't know if it does to anybody else, but it is a phenomenal number and something that we work very hard every day to fix in our county and in our state. 34% of the adults who are lacking these basic literacy skills were born outside of the United States, but it's important to keep in mind that that means the other 66% were born here, right? So this is not a problem that is limited to any one population, any one part of our population. It affects everyone. It affects people from high socioeconomic status, low socioeconomic status. It doesn't matter. Illiteracy affects all of us. On the 2019 NAEP, which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, 35% of 4th graders could read grade level text, but that means 65% of them could not. That is a national assessment. It's given every few years to 4th graders, 8th graders, and 12th graders, and it's often called the nation's report card. It helps us see how the nation is performing as a whole on various areas. It's also important to know that low levels of literacy, estimates vary from $300 billion to $2.2 trillion per year that illiteracy costs the United States, whether through reduced earning potential or through social costs that come through the effects of illiteracy. When we think about the data that we're going to look at in a few minutes for Dare County Schools, it's really important to keep these national data points in mind to remember that this is not a problem that we are alone in fighting. But it's also really important to keep in mind that while we're only showing you statistics about literacy, literacy impacts every single aspect of someone's life. So it can be the open door to anything that you could possibly want to do with your life coming up, but it could also be an insurmountable barrier that keeps you from being able to access those things. And as people who are able to read and who are literate, it is very, very difficult to fully understand and comprehend the impact that this has on every single aspect of someone's daily life. So as we go through the things that we're about to talk about and the things that we are doing to try to support those, keep in mind that it is a different conversation for those of us who can read and to try to put yourself in the mindset of someone who cannot whenever we're talking about the things that we're trying to do to improve these outcomes for our students.
Okay, so this quote I think is really important because I think a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, we're talking about literacy again. But here's why, is if you don't get it right in an elementary school, every piece of school suffers. Every other content, every behavior, every data point, if reading is not done right in an elementary school, the effects are seen everywhere. Because whether it's math or social studies or science or CTE or home ec, you have to read. You have to be able to read. And so that's where this is important. So seeing these statistics and knowing how literacy impacts everything in a student's academic career, what are we doing to ensure the best possible outcomes for our students? It's funny you should ask. Let us tell you. So the science of reading, Reese is going to give us a little overview.
So we are going to provide you an overview of some of the changes that we've made related to literacy and DCS. And while many of these changes are required by legislation, it's also important to know that they are backed by extensive research and evidence to ensure that we're providing high quality. So the things that we're doing are not only because legislation says we need to do them, they are also things that research and evidence tells us this is the right thing to do for our students. So the science of reading is a body of research and evidence. You've probably heard this term a lot. This research comes from 4 different areas, which is really cool to know that this is not just from education, or this is not just from this one area of research. It convenes research from psychology, linguistics, neuroscience, and education to come together into this giant body of research and information that we call the science of reading. Cognitive science shows us that learning to read is not natural for our brains. Communicating in spoken language is natural. We can be around other people speaking, our minds pick it up, we start to imitate it, we start to use it. Our brains are wired for spoken language. Our brains are not wired for reading written information and translating that into spoken language. So when you see a kid learning to read and it looks laborious, that's because it really is. And the science shows us that. And it's also important to know that the science of reading is not new research. So some people are detractors of the science of reading, and they might say, oh, this is all, where does this come from? It's just showed up in the last 3 or 4 years. That's not true. The science of reading has been around for decades, and this research comes from studies done in multiple nations and in multiple languages, which is also really encouraging to know that this information has been around, it's been tested. It doesn't only apply to those learning in English. It really helps us understand how our brain learns to read in all alphabetic systems. The clicker. So how is the science of reading different from what has traditionally happened in many schools? One piece of the science of reading that is very different from what has happened in the past is that it emphasizes the importance of explicit instruction across all 5 areas of reading, which include phonological awareness, that's the ability to work with sounds in your head, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. This is really, really important because for about 5% of the population, reading seems effortless. These are the kids who show up in kindergarten and they just seem like they can read, like overnight somehow they just figured it out, right? That's about 5% of the population. It does happen, but not for very many of us. For 20 to 40% of the population, most methods of instruction will be effective. You can teach them to read using pretty much any system and they will get it. But for 60% of the population, they require code-based, explicit, and systematic instruction to be able to learn to read proficiently. So when we think about our students and the instruction that we are providing them, 60% of them need the explicit instruction that we are moving towards, and it is going to benefit all of them. So that type of instruction is not going to hinder anyone, but it's going to make sure that we are getting as many students as we possibly can to the point of being a proficient reader.
So I'm just going to highlight 1 or 2 of these. So the shifts in practice of what Reese was saying. So for those of you who are not aware, over the last couple of years, our K-5 teachers went through letters training. And that's where, because we were previously balanced literacy and we're moving towards structured literacy. And so the big shifts in practice, so from teaching phonics in isolation to teaching phonics very explicitly, which goes back to what Reese was just saying, that systematic explicit instruction. And then also from using predictable text or leveled readers to decodable text directly aligned to the phonics skills that they have been taught. And so it's not just having them guess, it's truly a systemized way to have them learn, and it's being very purposeful in how we're teaching them. So just to give you a quick overview for the individuals who were here last year, this is a repeat a little bit. So Senate Bill 387 it's otherwise known as the Excellent Public Schools Act of 2021. It modifies the North Carolina Read to Achieve program. And so it really is defining science of reading as evidence-based reading instruction in those 5 areas, which is phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocab, and comprehension. And it's differentiated to meet the needs of students. And then the components of that that Senate bill is that Part 5. So there's different sections, but we wanted to kind of give you a quick overview with what was important to tonight. Was each local public school unit will evaluate its literacy curriculum and instruction methods to comply with the literacy instruction standards and literacy implementation plan. So here's how we've done that. So just to give you, this is just a very quick overview. And to make this slide, I was like, we have done a lot more work than this sounds like. So all K-5 classroom teachers began letters in January of 2022. In January of 2023, we began the curriculum review process because the curriculum we had at that time was not aligned with the science of reading. And so we had to go through that whole adoption process. We had a curriculum committee that came together, school teams reviewed, and then we made a selection in May of 2023. August of 2023, we had training for all staff and implementation of all new curricula. And then the first cohort of DCS teachers finished letters in January of 2024. And then currently, we are ongoing implementation support as schools implement literacy curricula. And by no means is it perfect at this moment, but we are looking at progress, not perfection. Because it is unrealistic to expect that people are going to make a paradigm shift, which is exactly what this is. It is a huge undertaking, and it is a lot of years of, it's unlearning what you've been taught that you need to do, which is very difficult to do. So the curricula that was selected by the curriculum committee was kindergarten, the overarching is open court, and that's K-5. It's used in all classrooms. And then in K-3, we have open court and Hegarty, which is really that phonemic awareness. And then in 4th and 5th grade, it's open court and 95% group.
So any student who is below grade level or well below grade level on the MClass DIBELS 8 screener at the beginning of the year or at the middle of the year will receive an individual reading plan. An individual reading plan can be for that student, or it can serve a group of students if they have a similar need and they are receiving a group intervention. The individual piece of that is specific to making sure that we're meeting that child's needs, but also that we are notifying that individual's family to make sure that they know that they are demonstrating difficulty with reading. The Senate Bill 387 also requires that we submit a literacy intervention plan to NCDPI each year by October 1st. These literacy intervention plans help outline what instruction is going to look like in core, supplemental, and intensive intervention. It explains what we're going to do both with curriculum, instruction, and the environment in all of those areas. And it is tied to funding, so it's very important that those are done well and that they help us inform what we're going to do with students whenever they are demonstrating difficulty. So a celebration moment. Dare County Schools Literacy Intervention Plan for the 24-25 school year has been approved for the second year in a row. There are 3 different levels of approval for literacy intervention plans. There is not approved, which means you have to change something immediately. There is approved with recommendations, which means you have until the next year to adjust whatever they told you to adjust. And then there's fully approved. The first year that we submitted last year, we were one of 15 districts in North Carolina that were fully approved, which is super exciting. This year, we are one of 44 districts that are fully approved, so the numbers are improving for North Carolina. But that still means that out of 115 districts, only 38% are fully approved with no recommendations. So we're still up there in the top 40%, which is exciting. So the LIP also specifically includes only interventions that include a scope and sequence and are multi-componential. So that ensures that whenever students are struggling with reading or demonstrating difficulty, they are receiving intervention with a program that is going to explicitly help move them along their progression and is going to address all of the pieces of reading that are interconnected at the same time. When a student's behind, it's really important that we are addressing and catching them up as quickly as possible. So we want to make sure that the things that are interconnected are being worked on together.
So this is just kind of an overview because I think this is really important to highlight. We were in cohort 2. So there were 3 cohorts of letters training. And so we were in the middle. And so if you look there, our teachers finished in 23-24. Okay. So you expect to see shifts in K-1 instructional practices, which we have. We have seen huge shifts in that. Still work to do, but we've seen huge shifts. 24-25, which is this school year, we'll see outcomes in K-1. We don't expect to see huge outcome in K-3 until 25-26 because you can't flip a switch and have it fixed. It's been years of happening, and we have to gradually undo it. If I had a magic switch, I would flip it for you, but there is not one. And so this is really important to kind of know when you're going through looking at data and you see that, well, why isn't elementary having the gains that we're expecting them? They are, it just might not be in 3-5. And so I think that that's a really important thing to highlight there as we continue on our journey, because we are seeing shifts, but we also have to understand that our kids, as the kids move up, you're going to start to see that work. Okay. So this is Reese.
So I think it's important to know that the slide that you just saw came from NCDPI, and that is their projected timeline of when we should start to see these shifts based on the 3 different cohorts. So that's not what we think of when we should start to see shifts. That is what the state is looking at of when we should start to see the outcomes of this work. So this slide right here shows you trends at the beginning of year. BOI is beginning of year in M-class data, which is basic reading indicators. So if you look at 21-22, that's as far as we can go back with M-class, which is the current assessment that we have right now. That shows you the kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and third grade, how those students came in, what percentage of students came in proficient at the beginning of the year. You can follow each cohort. Their color moves down with them. So kindergarten in 21-22, they are the first grade class in 22-23, and you can follow their movement there. And based on that slide that you saw a second ago, that means for these kindergarten and first grade students this year, that's where we should start to see outcomes. And you can see that if you look at those 2 red boxes. Last year, the kindergarten class came in with 37% of students as meeting benchmarks at BOI. This year, that same cohort of kids came back from the summer, and they have 49% of students currently meeting BOI benchmarks. It's really crazy to think about, but that is the class of 2037. And so when we think about it in these cohorts, we can kind of follow, right? Because last year's kindergartners and this year's kindergartners may be completely different groups of kids. So we can't necessarily look at their data to compare, but we can follow these cohorts of students and see, okay, how are our cohorts improving? And are we seeing the outcomes there that we'd expect to see? And we're starting to see them, which is really, really encouraging. So another part of State Bill 387 is that it defines reading camp and what we have to do whenever we offer summer reading camp. So summer reading camp is an additional educational program outside of the instructional calendar, and it is intended to be provided as a literacy intervention, which means it's intended to be offered to those students who are demonstrating difficulty in reading. So what's required by legislation for summer reading camp is that it is offered to any second or third grade student who is demonstrating difficulty with reading development. We have to provide at least 72 hours of reading instruction, which is intended to yield positive reading outcomes. And it has to be provided for as outlined in our literacy intervention plan. So whenever we set forward our literacy intervention plan on October 1st and say, this is what we're going to do for summer reading camp, that's what we have to do the following year. And one of the things that we have to verify that we are doing is making sure that students receive as much small group instruction as possible in groups of 3 to 5 students during summer reading camp.
So that's what's required by the state, but Dare County Schools, as with everything else, we go above and beyond what the state asks us to do. So we invite our kindergarten and first grade students who are not meeting the expected reading proficiency. We have comprehensive staff support. We have really beefed that up over the last few years. And so we have sites at 3 of our elementary schools. So we have Cape Hatteras, Manual Elementary, and then we have one of the schools on the beach. So either Nags Head, First Light, or Kitty Hawk house those 3 schools in one site. Comprehensive staff support, we provide training on the curriculum that we're going to use for summer reading camp. We provide staff incentives. We provide all lesson plans and a detailed framework for staff. So they're not having to find lessons and find supplies and materials and all of that. We try to make it as easy as possible when they come in. The intentional design, we address all 5 components. And so with that, we have an intentional design to make sure that what we are instructing over those weeks of summer reading camp is really purposeful and targeted to what we're doing and what the students need. And we have a camp theme. We have last year we had so last year was the first year we did this. And it was really fun. It was called Velocity Summer Reading Camp, where reading takes flight. And it is looking at, there was a theme, there were school transformations, there were attendance raffles, where a lot of our community partners provided donations to be able to offer those to staff and to students. We also had so part of that design there with the regular student attendance was every day a student came, they received a raffle ticket. And at the end of each week, there were gifts raffled off to encourage student attendance. And it was really designed with students' best interest in mind, because we don't want to drill and kill assessment practices. We want to make sure that whatever we are teaching them is something that they can apply to whatever structure or framework they go into next. So, community involvement, we had a lot of our community members donate things, raffle prizes, or they were so gracious. I mean, goodness knows. So we were very thankful. And it wasn't just donation, or it wasn't just raffle prizes, it was also school supplies. So because we wanted to make sure that we were not asking teachers to have to go into their classroom and get their own supplies, we wanted to make sure we gave them what they needed to be able to do. And if they wanted to go above and beyond, fine. So now we're going to talk about attendance. And get ready. I hope you're paying attention because your call to action is coming soon.
You need a lot of background knowledge to be able to take action on this. So last year, for K-3 students, there were 726 students who were eligible to attend based on reading assessment data. So remember we said at MOY or at EOY, if you are below or well below, then you are eligible to attend summer reading camp. So last year we had 726 students who were eligible, which is the graph that you see on the far left, the bar on the far left. Out of those students, 356 students enrolled in summer reading camp. So they said they were going to come, which means we lost almost half of them right off the bat there, but about half said they were going to come. That's your second line. Out of those students, 285 students attended. So we lost about another 70 from enrollment to actually coming to summer reading camp. And out of those students, 156 students attended summer reading camp 80% or more of the time. Summer reading camp is about 4 weeks, and it's 4 days a week. So we calculated 80% of the time, and we only had about 21% of kids who were eligible that came 80% of the time or more. And if we think back to the idea that summer reading camp is intended to be an intervention, a continuation of the school year for our students who are demonstrating difficulty in reading, when we see that number of 21% of them came consistently, we know that we're missing a lot of our students who need that additional support.
So here's where you come in. Remember I told you it was coming. We need your help. Our students' reading skills are the foundation for their entire education career, okay? This summer, I would love for us to come together and be able to ensure that every eligible student attends summer reading camp consistently, so 80% or more, so they can overcome reading difficulties and build a strong foundation for future success. This summer reading camp, and I've talked about this a lot in previous presentations, summer reading camp has not always been this way. So a lot of the time it has been a daycare, and it hasn't been intentional, but this is an opportunity that our schools are providing free of charge to students that qualify for it. And I think that we need to take advantage of what we have and what we can provide them. And together we can make a lasting impact on their future. So how can you help?
So parents and guardians can help by really promoting the importance of being a proficient reader with their students at home, helping them understand the impact that coming to summer reading camp is going to have. Like we said, we've done a lot of work on our end to make sure that summer reading camp is a place where kids want to be and something that they enjoy. But on the other side, we need parents to help reinforce the importance of being a proficient reader and then helping to set a routine. So if your student is invited to summer reading camp, set up that routine so that coming to summer reading camp is part of your day, and you get into that good, smooth rhythm. Community members can help by contributing community donations. We had many donations last year, and it made a huge difference for our students and for our staff members. And community members can also help by providing childcare for younger siblings or afternoon care for students who get out of Velocity Summer Reading Camp. Sometimes we have kids who either can't come because they need to watch a younger sibling or because they don't have afternoon care. And so community members can help by offering to work with other families that they know and help meet those needs. And board members, you can help by encouraging eligible students to attend Velocity Summer Reading Camp, knowing how intentional it is and how hard we're working to make sure that it's closing those gaps. And also by visiting a Velocity Summer Reading Camp classroom near you this summer. We would love to see you so that you can see how hard our staff members are working and how hard our students are working during that time.
And that is all we have for you guys. So I appreciate your time. We appreciate your time. I know that it was a little bit longer, but we wanted to make sure we we leveled the playing field so everybody kind of had the same level of knowledge, because I know that it's new to some of you too. So we're open to any questions you guys might have.
Is there any questions from any of the board members?
Yeah.
So my brother's in third grade, like, how long is it during the day? Because like I know when I was a kid, like I got out for summer, like I did not want to go back to school at all.
Mhm.
I just wanted to stay up. So like, how is it? How long is it? And, like, how's it any different than like reading in school where it's kind of?
These are great questions.
Emerson, reading is not boring. So it is a half day. So it's 7:30 to 12:30, Monday through Thursday. And we have done that intentionally because we've heard from staff members and students. They're like, we don't want to go to school. It's just an extension. So we schedule it and structure it to be very intentional, and it moves quick. Like the day, you don't know, by the you blink and it's 12 o'clock. And so it's all literacy. And so you have, it's structured. So there's, the phonics time or the phonemic awareness time, and then there's comprehension, and it's structured through content-based. So you're not just reading to read. It's, you're learning, building their prior background knowledge and with science and social study topics. And then they also have events throughout the camp, so like experiments and activities and things like that to make it more engaging. Mm-hmm.
Say you had someone who's like, I mean, they're all like need help, but someone who's a little bit better, like, are they all the same thing?
These are such good questions.
These
I'm,
are
like,
such
so
good
impressed right
questions.
now.
Yeah, you can come up. So they are grouped based on where they are at and what the skills that they specifically need to work on. So they're not all just it's not, throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's very intentional. It's what they need in that moment to grow their skill set.
So there's parts of the days that all third graders would do, and those would be like the social studies or the science content that we're teaching. We're using those content areas to teach comprehension skills, and it's preparing them for things that they're going to encounter the next year. But then there's other parts of the day where kids are split up into groups so that those foundational skills pieces that they're missing, the phonics patterns, they are where they need to be, not just all the third graders are in this one room. And that was a really big change that our staff made last summer, because you're exactly right. Like you may have, 20 third graders, but they all have different foundational skills needs. And so last year we adjusted that, and it was a big undertaking, but our staff rose to the occasion, and it made that time much more beneficial for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good question.
It was a really good question. Did that answer it?
Yes.
Okay.
Katie, before you leave, I'd like to recognize Children Youth Partnership, Macy.
Yes.
She's a big part of the working with this as well. Katie gave a report to that program in December, I believe it was, in a December meeting with the Children Youth Partnership, and they certainly have taken that information that Katie has presented to them and is working with some feedback for this program this upcoming summer. So thanks again for reaching out to other community members that is a part of our children throughout the community of Dare County.
Yes, and we also presented to the superintendent's advisory councils back in October and November, because we don't want to just keep doing it because we know it's good. Okay, I know it's good, but that doesn't mean everybody else does. And what we're trying to do is build a culture where, or a community where they understand the importance of literacy. And that if we can get everybody on board and understand the importance of it, and it's kind of like that urgency behind it, that we can really make it so we're setting our kids up for it to be the best versions of themselves. And we're not putting barriers in place and just ignoring what we know is there. So
Thank you all so much. Thanks, Ms.
thank
Lambert.
you. You have any other questions?
Yes,
Okay. I saw your
726 kids,
Mhm.
summer vacation. I don't want to go back to school. What are some other reasons why they don't come?
So that's a really great question. So the reasons we've heard is summer vacations. There's other summer camps. The kids don't want to go to school after they've been in school for the school year. Childcare, having it be a half day. And that was something we learned at the Children and Youth Partnership, where for the families that, even though we offer ASEP, or after-school enrichment, the after-school enrichment program, that there are some families that they can't afford that after school. And then, so what do they do? Or they don't want to lose their slot at a daycare by doing summer reading camp. And so we're trying to work through all of that. We can't solve all of it. And so I would love for 726 kids to be able to come. It's unrealistic to be able to expect that just because that's the nature of our community. But my goal is to have 115 more kids sign up than we had last year. It's an audacious goal, but here I am, put it out there.
So on a high school day, they can take 30 minutes out of their day for remediation.
Mhm.
And I know the elementary school schedule a little bit different.
It is.
Can you do something like that also?
As far as like,
Like a time period during the school day, like the high school does for
we have
remediation?
that.
Do you? Okay.
Yep. Each of our elementary schools has that.
For reading,
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
these same students.
Yes, those same students.
Katie, hate to do this, but I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about walking to read in the day.
Okay, so walk to read. I'm gonna give a little bit and then I'm gonna let Reese take that over because I'm not going to steal her thunder and this is really her brainchild. So walk to read is something that we piloted in Velocity Summer Reading Camp last year. And that is what we were talking about with the foundational skill grouping, because it's something that we're very purposeful on, and we piloted it in summer reading camp. And then each of our elementary schools has it to some capacity, maybe not K-5, but they have it in some capacity in each elementary school. And it really is focusing on the foundational skills, doing a screener, meeting the kids where they're at, and being intentional with a multi-componential program to make sure we're meeting or giving them what they need. And I'm going to let Reese take it over because she has a much nicer explanation.
Ron, I think this is what you're asking on a day-to-day basis. And the reason I want them to talk to you about this is because this is what grew out of summer camp to say, wow, look what they did in summer camp. Can we replicate that daily? So please.
So what you're talking about, intervention during the day, that does happen already. So any student who is below or well below benchmark in reading has to receive supports to ameliorate those deficits. And during summer reading camp last year, because of what you brought up, Emerson, about how students in the same grade may have very different deficits, we piloted Walk to Read, where we gave every kid a diagnostic survey, every kid who was coming to summer reading camp, that diagnostic survey to figure out, okay, out of this progression of phonics skills, doesn't matter what grade you're in, what skills have you mastered and what skills do you need next? When we had that information, then we took it and put kids into groups and used however many instructors we had to say, okay, we can have 15 groups. We're going to get these kids into 15 groups based on the skills, not their grade. We did put some parameters in place. We didn't put kindergartners and third graders together just because of mindsets and the social implications. But outside of that, we really worked to make sure that kids were in the group that they needed to be on based on the skill, not just whatever their grade level says. After doing that during summer reading camp, we've now brought that into many grade levels during the school year. So we're doing the same thing where we give that diagnostic survey, and then students who are below or well below flow in reading. They are getting not just the same amount of time of phonics instruction that everyone gets, but they're getting additional time on top of that. And we're using the Walk to Read framework to make sure that those supports are aligned. So if you need to work on short vowels, you are getting double the amount of time on short vowels, even if that's not what your grade level says you need to work on.
Thank you.
Katie mentioned this several times too. Purposeful, specific, and targeted. That's something that we try to apply to everything we do. This is a prime example of taking kids where they are, meeting them there, identifying where the deficit may be, and applying specific to the deficit, not based on what the class needs, but what the individual student needs, and grade level, grades, performance. Okay, we're talking about skills. Can you do this well enough to transfer that into your reading? And if not, we address the skill.
Thank you
Very,
so much.
very good.
Good work. Next, we'll turn the meeting over to Ms. Fallon to give us a presentation on the early college recruitment timeline.
Thank you, Chairman Twitty. So I just wanted to share some important dates with you and with the community as we move forward with plans to open the Dare County Early College in August 2025. We'll start there on the COA campus. They've agreed to let us use part of their campus for classrooms and administrative offices and so forth. So we're really excited about that partnership growing as we welcome students to that campus. So the Dare County Early College application was approved by the state, and there's a process in place for student enrollment. So we're going to start with that. The recruitment or application, if you will, is open to all ninth graders in Dare County. So that would be students who are currently eighth graders that reside in Dare County, whether they be currently enrolled in a public school, homeschool, or private school. They are eligible to apply for attendance at an early college. And so for our new members, application to early college is the accepted protocol across the state, and it was part of our application package. So what does that process look like? Well, and some of the dates that you'll see up there on the screen, I'll talk about in just a minute, but the process starts with information sessions. And so who do we have those sessions with? We're going to start with eighth grade teachers, because they interact daily with those students, and students may be more likely to ask their eighth grade teacher a question than they will be in an information session. So we start with the teachers to make sure they're informed. Then we speak specifically to our eighth grade students. We try to do smaller groups, so we won't bring all the eighth graders into the auditorium. We will do smaller groups of students to just make sure they have the information about what that early college paradigm looks like, what those students can expect in that high school experience, who's it for, who would be a good fit, that sort of thing. And then we also host parent meetings across the district. So we'll do that in every middle school across the district, both the student, teacher, and parent meetings. And then so those meetings will take place January 15th through the 29th. Those information sessions. We'll also be publishing the flyer that you see and send a phone call out to parents so that they're aware of what's going on. That'll go out to all of our eighth grade parents. There is an online, so after we have all the meetings, we open an online application for a period of time. It's about a month, so February 1st through March 4th. It's a pretty short application. It'll ask some basic demographic information from parents, and then just a few questions from students. What are your interests? What do you want to do after high school? Why do you want to attend? It's not really a long application at all. After that, every applicant is interviewed, and those are set up for the week of March 6th through 13th. Just ask some basic questions from the students. We are going to provide the interview questions ahead of time so that the students can prepare. My experience has been they get really, 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 really nervous because they've never been interviewed before. They're eighth graders, of course they haven't. So we found that if you give them the questions ahead of time, that they can think through, their inner light, if you will, really shines because they feel more comfortable with that. So we'll definitely do that. I know we've talked a little bit with some of the schools with helping the students prepare. Parents can certainly help as well. There's nothing wrong with that. And then our goal is to notify our applicants March 14th about whether or not they will be invited to attend the early college. They'll still have time to make a final decision about enrollment. So that commitment day will be around April 4th. And then, of course, after those decisions are made, we'll do a meet and greet on the COA campus with those students sometime in May. So just to highlight some of those dates that I mentioned. So our student presentations, January 16th is at Cape Hatteras Secondary School, January 21st at First Flight Middle School, and January 24th at Manteo Middle School. And I'm working with those principals to set up those specific class times and what that will look like. And then our parent meetings begin on January 27th in the evening at 6 p.m. at Manteo Middle School, the 28th at First Flight Middle School, and the 29th at Cape Hatteras Secondary School. And again, if someone in the community, we do the student presentations in our public schools, but if someone's interested, you can certainly attend the parent meeting and a student can attend with them. They don't have to, but they certainly can if they're interested. And then if you have any questions, you can contact me at the central office and I can answer any questions you have. But we're really excited about moving forward with admitting some students. Our application is very detailed. You had to talk about how many students that you can take, and there are lots of rules for that. But for this particular group, because we are transitioning there and don't have the building yet on the COA campus, I think we're looking to enroll about 50 students to start with this group. So really excited about that. Are there any questions about that?
No questions from the board?
You said you don't have times yet for the student presentations.
I'm working that out with those principals. We'll push into their classrooms though. Like sometimes I know one school, I think I'm going to go to the health and PE classes. And then another school, I might go in their science class or social studies. It just depends on what the principal thinks will be a good fit for that.
And there is rhyme and reason of why they're scheduled the way they are. We talk with the teachers first because generally the students are going to after they hear their presentation, are going to go ask the teachers, well, what do you think about this? Plus, the teachers are also going to be most likely the ones filling out recommendations for students on the application. So what we've seen in the past is you'll get a teacher that hasn't been exposed to the information and say, this is an outstanding student. They make straight A's. They do everything they're asked to do. And that may not be the student you're looking for, So teachers have to understand what the recommendations are. Then we talk with the students in their classrooms so they don't have to schedule special time, stay after school, any of that. But we do that so that the students can then go home and tell their parents. They came and talked to us today about the early college. Well, what did they tell you? Well, there's a parent meeting scheduled. And now we're going to talk to the parents about what we talked to the students about. And so we build the information out from the classroom so that students get all the information, parents get all the information, but they also get support at the same time in that process.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the unfinished business. I'll turn it over to Mr. Blackstock for the proposal of the school calendar.
I really don't have anything to add from last week. I haven't heard from any board members on any concerns, so I'm happy to answer any questions now or not.
Okay. Any questions? So with that being said, do I have a motion on the floor to approve the school calendar?
A motion to approve the 25-26 school calendar.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Payne.
Second.
second by Mr. Bright. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if you could amend the motion to approve both school calendars, because the early college calendar is different from the traditional.
Well, it didn't have,
If we say calendar.
it was.
Calendars, that'll work.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, we said calendars.
Calendars.
So we
I need
motion.
to restate that.
I-
Motion. Make a motion that we approve 25, 26 school calendars.
So we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Payne, second by Mr. Bright. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. So we'll have school calendars 25, 26 been approved. Thank y'all. Next, we'll move to new business. And if we can have Ms. Fallon and Ms. Sproul come up to discuss consideration or approval of the revised school improvement plan for Cape Hatteras Elementary, Cape Hatteras Secondary, First Light Middle, First Light High, Kitty Hawk Elementary, Manio Middle, Manio High School, and Nags Head Elementary.
Board, just for your reference, school improvement plans are biannual. So we approved these plans last year. We've got a lot of our administrators here tonight if we have questions about those. So I'm going to turn it over to the directors to just talk a little bit about these. But unless we've got any major changes in any of these school improvement plans over the ones that were approved last year, there's no reason to go into a lot of detail, but I'll turn it over to the directors.
The only thing that I would sort of want to bring to light is at our secondary level, at our high schools with our calendar this year, we actually tested our students with exams before the Christmas break, and that's new. And so I will tell you that even last week as testing, not last week, before Christmas, as testing started to conclude, we started to have discussions about their school improvement plans, where they were with their goals and expectations and data. And it's really exciting for me. I think that they really have their finger on the pulse of what needs to happen in classrooms every day to improve instruction and thus improving student outcomes. So that's very exciting with school improvement planning. I've already met with all of my principals. Mr. Luciano is here, and he and I talked quite a bit about school improvement plan and what's going on in classes and data. And so all of our principals at the secondary level we're just making really great strides. And so I'm excited about that. That's really all I have to add. That's a little bit different than last year.
Yes, and I have, similar to what Denise has said, I meet with our, the principals, elementary principals monthly, and we look at their school improvement plans and kind of go over, where they're at with their goals and the action items that they have. And I know the elementary, the 3 remaining elementary principals that are here tonight have a little bit to share about what their school improvement plans are, if you have a minute. Just so they could share.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
And I stress this, board, they established these plans at the end of last year based on the data that they have. They do this over the summer with their teams. But that data can change, whether it's beginning of the year data, middle of the year data for elementary schools, or with our secondaries this year finishing before Christmas, that where you are based on the data that you currently have can change where your perspective is. And I greatly appreciate the efforts that both these ladies are putting in to meet with our principals to revisit those goals and reestablish where they are.
And I will say because I was going to start alphabetically with Cape Hatteras Elementary, but before Rachel comes up, I will share that I don't know about other districts, but I know here those school improvement plans are not put on a shelf after they are made. They are reviewed every month at their school improvement team meetings, and they are very intentional with not just, oh, let's say we're going to do this, and then they don't do it. Everything that they have in their school improvement plan is something that they do, and they are doing every day. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for coming.
Hello, absolutely. Good evening. I have met some of you personally. I haven't met all of you, but it's very nice to meet you. So I'm going to start by just saying a little bit about the school improvement process. It is a continuous improvement model. So there are 12 key indicators. There's over 100 instructional practices for us to choose from. That's not something we take lightly. We don't just sit in a room and arbitrarily say, oh, this one sounds good. We did do a comprehensive needs assessment last summer. It is very arduous. It is a lot of work. And then you take all of that data and you look at it to make your school improvement plan. And as Mr. Bass-Knight said, it can change on a dime because as we get new data, professional development changes, goals change, and things we're doing. So at K. Patterson Elementary, if you look at our plans, you're going to see it's pages and pages. And that's because we pick indicators, we come up with tasks for each of those indicators and very small incremental biteable things that we can do because it can be very overwhelming, just like with the science of reading, to say, oh, we're just going to change the whole way we teach reading. Well, that you have to look at it in very detailed steps for how you're going to make that happen. And that's the tasks that we come up with to do that. So once you complete an indicator, it doesn't mean you're done with it. It means you keep doing all of those things and then you add something else to that. So at K. Patterson Elementary, we have an overarching goal. And Mr. Bass-Knight and I have had this conversation many times. Growth is key. If you focus on growth, proficiency will come because our job as educators is to grow a student. At K. Patterson Elementary in kindergarten, we've had approximately through the years that I've been there, which is about 5, 10 to 30% of our students come in kindergarten on grade level. So that's a big task for an educator because what we're expected to do then is have them on grade level. And I do want to say with the help of the lovely ladies that presented the literacy initiative, last year our kindergartners left 88% proficient and they only came in at about 30. And that is with the changes that we're making for the science of reading. So I wholeheartedly believe in everything we're doing and have seen the evidence that it's working. So our overarching goal is about growth. EVOS, which I'm sure you've heard about and looked at that data. K. Patterson Elementary School's Accountability Growth Index will increase to 2.0. We exceeded growth 2 years prior, we met growth this year, and we are going to exceed growth again this year. And that's evidenced by EVOS growth index data, and our school performance percentage will be at least 60% with 100% of our teachers meeting or exceeding growth. And then in order to do that, that's where we're talking about these little indicators and tasks. So that's the big thing we want to do. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to raise student achievement. We're going to close achievement gaps, enable all students to take ownership of their learning with a specific improvement on reading. Because as they said, if you cannot read, and it starts in elementary school, and I take full ownership of that. If I send students to Beth that are behind, it is very difficult for her to catch them up. So we take it very seriously, and that begins in kindergarten because at K. Patterson Elementary, if a student leaves kindergarten behind, again, research shows by the time they leave first grade, if they're behind, it is extremely difficult to catch them up past that. So we take all of our data from the beginning of the year and we set goals for each classroom and each grade level because we're looking at their tier 1 instruction first, which is their core instruction. So the indicators that go along with that are looking at our performance data and then making sure that all of our teachers are using sound research-based materials to teach their core 1 instruction. We can't have everybody just teaching willy-nilly whatever they want in a classroom. So the strategies that we have used are to fully implement the new science of reading curriculums that we have, along with the new math curriculum at K. Patterson Elementary K-5. We adopted the new Bridges curriculum that not everybody has, but we chose to, as a school, go ahead and do that for this year. We have weekly tier 1 problem-solving meetings where we're looking at our core instruction, not just individual students, but we're looking at the classroom as a whole. Is the classroom meeting the needs of the majority of our students? We have growth glimmers. We're constantly reflecting on our growth, celebrating our growth, and measuring our growth to make sure that we're doing exactly what we need to do for every single kid in that building. I want to thank the board and Mr. Bass-Knight and central office for the TLF positions that we were given. Absolutely life-changing. TLF, sorry. All the acronyms in education. TLF is the Teaching and Learning Facilitators. So we have I have Meredith Wilson, who is my TLF in our building, and each elementary school has those. I think every school does. But as an administrator, I'm an instructional leader. However, as an administrator, we're dealing with 100 million things a day that change on a dime. Do I want to be in a classroom every single second? That is where I would love to be every second. Unfortunately, that is not real because we have to do a lot of other things. These TLFs are like our little arm that's in the classroom every day, all day, telling us what's going on. And it's been life-changing for me anyway. So thank you for that. We also have had Reese. Last year we had Reese, and she's helped us this year. We are using the Literacy Effective rubric. They're coming tomorrow, where we're looking at the big picture. Are we implementing the things we say we are? And are we doing it with fidelity? Having very hard conversations. As humans, we like to sometimes overinflate the things that we do. And so it's really important to have those real, raw conversations of, is this really what's happening? Or is this just what we say is happening? So we collect data and we look at it holistically. And then we make changes on a dime based on that. Our next goal is to ensure quality instruction, eliminate barriers to rigorous and diverse opportunities, and to provide quality instructional facilities. And so with this, you heard them talk about Walk to Read. At Kate Patterson Elementary, we are K-5, and we have called it Walk to Learn. We're not just focusing on reading, but we're also doing math, writing, Spanish, morphology, whatever it is that a kid needs. That's what we're giving them during that time. We also use lots of data templates. They get sick of hearing about data, but it's how you dig down and how you really know what's happening. And data doesn't lie. I'm sure you've heard that a time or two. And so you really can get in to see what each individual student needs when you look at data and what teachers need to support them. And then MTSS, that's another big part of our goals, multi-tiered systems of support, where you're looking at Tier 1 is the core instruction that we're giving. Tier 2 is the supplemental instruction for kids that need additional support. And then Tier 3 is that really intensive support where they get one-on-one or in a very small group. And then last goal is to really work on our relationship with the community and parents and make sure that parents feel supported, that our community understands what's happening in our building, and that they're very involved. We created a communication plan that we check on every single week in PLCs to make sure we're following through. As Katie said, this is not something we just write and put on a shelf. It is something we live and breathe. Any questions?
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Let me say one thing before you call somebody up. Definitions. In the MTSS, in the multi-tier system of supports, there are 3 levels. There's a Tier 1. Tier 1 is called core instruction. That's the instruction that everybody in every classroom gets. Okay, that's just what do you do for everyone. Tier 2 instruction is the interventions that are provided to some of the students in that class that didn't get it when you did it for everybody at the Tier 1 level. You provide that Tier 2 intervention so that they can move into Tier 1 and you can move on. Tier 3 is the smaller percentage of those students that didn't get it with the supplemental interventions. So they need more intensive interventions in order for them to get it. But each of those tiers is fluid. So kids are constantly moving between Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. And so, like Rachel was saying, those groups, and with Walk to Read, those groups, Ron, that they were talking about a while ago, get moved in and out of classes based on, or in and out of interventions based on what they need at that time. And those things change. So it's all fluid, and it's based on the data. Where are you right now? And when that data changes, where are you now? Thank you. Who you got next?
Because I'm elementary, we're going to go alphabetical order.
Oh,
Is that
boy.
okay? Kitty Hawk. So that will be Dr. Lisa Colvin.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Dare County School Board. I'm proud to be the principal of Kitty Hawk Elementary School, and I thank you for the opportunity to share our school improvement plan with you tonight. Kitty Hawk School's improvement team includes stakeholders representing our school community, including teachers from every grade level and all subject areas, resource staff, classified employees, and parents of our current students. Our team reviewed data from recent state test scores, but we also wanted to know what teachers thought, so we reviewed the answers from the recent Teacher Working Conditions Survey. We asked ourselves 2 questions. What are these trends telling us about our school, and what can we do to improve in these areas? We identified the highest needs, selected the NC STAR indicators that most closely align with them together. While our team is addressing the 12 best practices that are indicators throughout the school year, we're focusing all of the time on the 3 main goals. The first goal is all teachers employ effective classroom management and reinforce classroom rules and procedures by positively teaching and enforcing them. When discussing the data trends of teachers asking for more support in behavior management, our team came to 2 conclusions. First, our school has welcomed many new employees in the past 6 years, so we realized the need to revisit and update our training in order to implement PBIS, the Positive Behavior Intervention Support, consistently throughout our school. Number 2, our students' needs have changed as the world has changed. We need to understand and implement strategies that are relevant and effective in order to support our students. The action steps to address this goal include, we created a PBIS needs survey for our staff. Then we used the results of that survey to provide professional development. We provide intentional training in PBIS and staff meetings that includes providing strategies, our school-wide SOAR matrix, and concrete lessons to teachers in areas of need that the teachers identified, such as increasing student engagement, teaching students to follow school-wide expectations, and specifically focusing on respecting personal space and blurting out. We offer walkthroughs that teachers choose what they want to see. The goal is that all teachers employ effective classroom management strategies by describing, teaching, modeling, and reinforcing school-wide behavioral expectations by referring to the SOAR matrix. That all teachers use a positive behavior system in place that includes a variety of extrinsic and intrinsic rewards, and all teachers maintain a consistent, appropriate amounts of student supervision at all time. The teachers understand all of these goals, and we're working towards making it consistent throughout the school. The evidence of implementation of this goal includes an increase in SOAR recognitions, which we've seen, infinite campus documentation, and a shared folder for all staff that includes grade level reward system ideas, observation rubrics, and walkthrough documents. The second goal we're focusing on is that all teachers are attentive to students' emotional states, guide students in managing their emotions, and arrange for supports and interventions. We believe that when students learn to manage their emotions and are provided with the support, this improves their ability to learn and focus on learning, and it improves the teacher's ability to manage the classroom and focus on teaching. Our action steps in order to address this goal include our PBIS theme, Catch the Wave of Kindness, with monthly themes and activities to encourage students and staff to be kind throughout the day. MTSS meetings are offered weekly for teachers to sign up for support, core support, supplemental support, or instructional support in not only academic concerns, but behavioral supports and emotional supports for specific students. In all PLC and admin meetings, Kid Talk is a standing agenda item where staff can discuss concerns regarding students at risk. Our guidance counselor provides support across all grade levels, including classroom lessons, lunch bunch meetings, daily lessons provided for all teachers to present, and individual student support. Our student council brainstorms ideas on how to spread kindness. For example, they created an affirmation board where anyone could pick up a sticky note and read their own affirmation. Evidence of success in this goal is a reduction in behaviors that interrupt teaching and learning and an increase in students' time on task and student engagement. And finally, the third main goal is a leadership team consisting of the principal, teachers who lead the instructional team, and other professional staff meets regularly to review implementation of effective practices. Our team is consistently focusing on reviewing the progress and effectiveness on how we are implementing the goals in our school improvement plan. Each of the 12 indicators is assigned to a member of the school improvement team who's responsible for reporting the implementation of that practice. In addition, our top 3 school improvement goals are a standing agenda item to be reviewed at every school improvement team meetings, as well as specific team meetings in PLCs and admin team meetings. We keep them a priority throughout the school year, and everything is related to the school meeting. Every decision we make is related to, one of those indicators. Evidence of success in all of this will be that at Kitty Hawk Elementary School, effective, targeted, explicit, data-driven instruction will be implemented consistently throughout all classrooms, and that teachers and students will be given support to meet these needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Colvin? Thanks again.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mr. Luciano, Manio High School, do you want to say?
Get my papers out there.
Will you pull up
Really
Mr.
fine.
Luciano's PowerPoint? I think it's about 52 slides.
Yeah, that's all I'll do. Good evening. First, let me say that I've been here, this is 19 years. No one's ever asked me to come and talk about my school improvement plan. So thank you for that. And frankly, that's because you've had more conversations these past 2 years about school improvement plans than we have had in the past. So I appreciate that. Like all of the schools, one of our goals obviously is to increase our performance. We're very proud of our performance, yet we still want to increase our performance. And so the first goal is always, here's where we are. We look at all the data we have. And I have to tell you again, having had the luxury of being in 3 different states, no state gives us more data than I've ever seen is North Carolina. Those that have worked with me know, and I talked to Steve a lot, I'm a true believer in EVOS. I'm a true believer in the scores that we get from the state. They're done by an outside agency, which is great. We can look at it, we put it up there, and as someone said, the numbers speak for themselves. So we start there. We look at all the numbers we got from the previous year, set goals, reasonable goals to increase each and every year. The second goal came from, again, I think someone mentioned, which we all use, is the teacher's working condition. We have to increase our culture and our school spirit. So our second goal was easy to find. It was like, okay, what are we going to do to increase school spirit? And so we've come up with quite a few plans. Maybe you'd like to talk to some about it? Well, the one with the jars at the games is kind of cool.
Yes, so we, at our one of our first school improvement teams, we talked about ways to do that for students. And when we're talking about school spirit, we're not just talking about students, we're talking about the entire school community, the culture of the school. And so one of the things that we came up with was to identify student attendance by grade levels at all of our athletic events. And so each grade level has a different color, and as students come in, they have a ticket and they put it in the jar. And so we're calculating those numbers to kind of like some friendly competition, right, between 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to see, the numbers of each grade level that are attending our athletic events. And for teachers, we're trying to do something each month, right, to build that staff culture and morale there, because teaching is not an easy task. It's a very difficult task. And so we want our staff to know that we appreciate everything that they do on a daily basis. And when we talk about school spirit, it's all encompassing of students and staff.
The third goal we had, which is kind of was surprising to us, I think, was we need to increase using a program that came from Infinite Campus. They call it
Early warning system.
Early warning system, which is a wonderful program. So you go to this program and it will actually identify for you the students that have early warning signs of not being successful. It's just given to you right there. You look at it and here it is. And then obviously we'll take those names, talk about them at our PLCs, give them to our MTSS program, which you heard about, and move on from there. And then the last thing was really surprising to me that we had as like an additional goal is the worst scores we had last year were AIG. Our best students grew the least. I mean, proficiency obviously was wonderful, but in terms of growth, they had grown the least. So we've made a specific concentration on things we can do for our AIG students. And the good thing about a school improvement plan, as you heard, we meet every month and we meet with parents, which is always great. And obviously our staff, and we discuss these things and where we're at in achieving these goals. And all of these goals are assigned to specific people, whether it's a parent or a teacher or an administrator. We've tried to get away from administrators being in charge of it. And they file a report. So they're pretty good, and we know how we're doing all the way along. So come June, when I speak to Denise, when she says, well, how'd the year go? If I've done a good job with my school improvement plan and done what I should do, I kind of have a really good idea of how we're going to do and whether I'm going to have a real good summer or I'm not. It shouldn't be a surprise. So that's our school improvement plan, I guess, in a nutshell.
A lot of staff feedback and student feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions for the duo?
What?
The duo.
All right, well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Mary. Just for your reference to Manio High School consistently is one of the highest performing schools in the district.
Last but not least is Nags Head Elementary, Kelly Flora.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi. I just want to say ditto, and I can do this. Nice to meet you all. I know some faces. My name is Kelly Flora. I'm the principal at Nags Head Elementary School. I'm in my third year as principal at Nags Head. And I am happy to say that we have met growth the last 2 years, and we are really working hard to exceed in this school year. To get you started with our plan, we have kept the same 5 goals the last 2 years. And I know you're thinking, like, what in the world? So our philosophy is we like to dig deeper and not just scratch the surface. So I think one of my colleagues had mentioned once you master something, you just keep building and building and building. You don't just throw it to the wayside. So we have this, how can we continue to grow and change and build and evolve? So our 5 are fairly simple, our goals, our first one being data goals. And one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to show teachers that everything can become data. So we're really on that upswing where teachers are looking and how can we use this data to improve instruction. Next, of course, is our tiered instruction. So making sure that we meet the needs of all learners. If they're excelling, if they're struggling, meet them where they are. How can we get them where they need to be? Of course, classroom management. I know you laughed about that, but having clear expectations for students, staff, and we focused a lot on teach tos. A lot of times teachers will come in and just kind of assume kids know how to line up or walk in the hall. So we are very explicit with this is like, let's teach them how to do it. Even if they're in 4th and 5th grade, let's show them what we expect. Of course, our social and emotional learning piece, teaching children to recognize their emotions, regulate their emotions, huge piece. And finally, our last one is communication and building relationships. So I feel like we could keep that on there forever. We're always evolving, making sure that we are communicating with families, students, so that everyone is very clear. But one of the things that we started at Nags Head that I love, and this actually came from a training, the central office provided training for us to improve our school improvement process. And one of the things they mentioned were committees. We do committees, but now we do committees with purpose. So all of our committees are extensions of our school improvement plan. So we're a big school. We have a lot of happenings. So having different committees that can oversee different parts of our plan to ensure that we're meeting our goals and making sure that we are on the correct trajectory has been life-changing. So that has been something that we have celebrated a lot at Nags Head, and it has been so beneficial for students and staff. So with that, I would like to say thank you for your time and ask if you all have any questions.
No questions?
Nope. Great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Now, Mr. Bassnight, we'll turn it over to you to give us information of a donation from the Knights of Columbus.
Yes, sir. The local Knights of Columbus, Least Among My Brethren project, solicitates donations for year-round. And they do a lot.
Can I interrupt just a second? So were we going to approve those plans or are we not?
They were approved last year. They were by,
So we're not going to?
we don't have to
Okay,
approve.
all right,
No, we
misunderstood,
don't,
sorry.
they were already adopted.
So they work year-round. A lot of times, if you go to Walmart in the middle of the summer, they'll be standing out in front of Walmart in the blazing heat. This is the 38th year that this program has been raising funds to benefit teachers and local community agencies that impact the lives of children and adults with disabilities. This year, the Knights of Columbus are providing Dare County Schools with $9,000 that they collected. According to policy 8220, Dare County School Board policy 8220, gifts and bequeaths, anything up to $5,000, I can approve the acceptance of, but this donation is of $9,000. And I'd like to recommend the board approval to accept this donation for our Exceptional Children's Department in Dare County Schools.
So do we have a motion on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the $9,000 donation.
Motion by Mr. Bright. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Second by Ms. Lloyd. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Aye carries.
And Mr. Chair, can we go back to this is Rachel, I'm going back to the issue on the approval of the school improvement plans. So it's listed on the agenda as a consideration and approval of those of revised plans. So are they revised from last year, or are you looking for approval of the revisions?
There were none of them has been, they were just giving an update on what they were doing.
There is a possibility that some of those plans have been revised. So, Mr. Chairman, if you willing to vote to approve any revisions to school improvement plans?
So with that being said, do we have a motion on the floor for any approved revised school improvement plans that was presented to us tonight?
What are the revisions that we're voting?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any.
We can't vote on
No.
So you can postpone, the school improvement plans are on the supporting documents on Assembly.
Yeah.
So they're part of the agenda. But if you want to postpone it, I think that's fine. But
Let's postpone that so we can clear.
take a look at it and see if
yeah.
you have any questions.
And on Assembly, any of the attachments that have revisions are it says revised on it. So that'll cut down the number of that you have to go in there and look at.
Thank you, Rachel.
No problem. Sure.
Next on the agenda, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Bateman, which is the team leader of the facility naming team. So, Mr. Bateman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On December 19th, 2024, the naming team met at Dare County School Central office to discuss the naming of Manteo High School's gymnasium after former Dare County Schools employee and superintendent Steve Bassnight Jr. After having received multiple letters from the public stating that the said action was warranted. We reviewed Dare County Schools Policy 9300, and after some discussion, we all agreed that he met the criteria for such naming. And if I may, I'd like to read a few excerpts from the letters we received. First one from here is Ms. Janice Tillett. She said, when comparing people and their contributions to our school system and thus our community, I see no comparison closely to that of Stephen G. Bassnight Jr. Steve was a revered coach and teacher. In this capacity, he not only coached and taught, he counseled and loved his students and athletes. Mr. Marvin Clark, a 1964 graduate, said, I played basketball under Coach Bassnight in the early 60s. He had a way of getting the very best from his student athletes because of the great respect they had for him. Mr. Bassnight was a wonderful example that we and our children should aspire to be like. Mr. Andy Meekin said, during an important time in my education at Manteo High School, Mr. Bassnight was both my teacher and basketball coach. He was an important model of integrity and competence in these roles, not only for me, but many others as well. Former Board of Education member, Ms. Dorita Balance, said, I had the privilege of serving on the Dare County School Board of Education for 12 years while Mr. Bassnight served as assistant superintendent and superintendent. Mr. Bassnight was a man of integrity, kind-hearted, well-respected by all, and had a huge impact on Dare County's educational system and sports program. Lastly, this individual said, I don't know of any other superintendents who have contributed as much to Dare County school system as he did, talking about Steve Jr. From teacher to coach, to guidance, to superintendent, and many other roles, he should be honored and remembered. And this is where I'm going to try not to get a little choked up. That last individual was my father, Mitchell Bateman. I saved his letter for last because if it wasn't for Steve Jr., I likely wouldn't have had the honor and privilege of growing up in Wanchese, much less Dare County. My daddy worked for Dare County Schools as a school psychologist for almost 40 years, and it was Steve Jr. who gave him his job back in 1977. I also don't believe it to be a coincidence that my older brother shares his first name spelled the exact same way. My daddy held Steve Jr. on a pedestal, and quite honestly, I did too. Steve Jr. was a man of integrity, a man of honor, a man of respect, and ultimately, he was a man of God. I saw him regularly in church. He was my Sunday school teacher at one point, and he was a pillar in our community. Also, one of the kindest men I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. Now, I could go on and on. We'd be here all night if I kept going. If you want to talk about it after, you want to talk more about him after this meeting, we can. But I want to end it simply by saying, Mr. Chairman, we as a naming team very strongly recommend the naming of Manteo High School's gymnasium after Stephen G. Bassnight, Jr.
So we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Bateman for naming the Manteo High School gymnasium Stephen G. Bassnight, Jr. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Payne. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Aye, carries. At this time, I'd like to have Mr. Luciana, Miss Mary Bragg, Huey Bassnight, and Steve Bassnight come up to the front, please. Huey, Steve, your daddy was a wonderful man. And I'm proud to stand here tonight on behalf of our Board of Education to give you two a plaque of what we're going to do to celebration on Monday, February the 3rd at Manteo High School's gym. We'll be doing this celebration right before the women's basketball game. Luciana, thank you. Mary, thank you. Appreciate it. This concludes our portion of our meeting tonight, but I would like to start with Spencer to give the ending comments.
Well, to start, congratulations to Emerson for a scholarship, and also to Ms. Sproul and her team for the CROSS program and early literacy.
Well, Happy New Year and this first board meeting. I thought it went pretty well. Well, it's good seeing some new faces. And one thing I loved that I read over during the board highlights was First Flight Elementary School, the pages for pizza. I mean, I think that's just a great idea for kids because, like, who doesn't like pizza? And it's free, so all you got to do is read 20 minutes a night. I think that's like a gimme. So, yeah, and I love that. And I really like the summer reading camp. It kind of like, it's great because if kids are going to have fun while doing it, it's a great opportunity for them, and that you separate it based on their reading level. So I really like that. But yeah, great meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Brower?
I got nothing.
Mr. Wicker?
I don't have much. I'd just like to say, appreciate all the hard work that went into the reading program and to the school improvement team work.
Ms. Lloyd?
Well, tonight was very impressive. I loved all the literacy stuff. That's probably my biggest passion with schools. As a matter of fact, I have to contribute, I carry a book everywhere I go, just in case there's a few minutes to read a book. And I attribute that to good teachers, good leaders throughout my elementary, middle school, and high school. And so I love the fact that y'all are really focusing on that and emphasizing that with our students, because that is so, so important. Because as you said, it isn't just reading. If you can't read, you can't do math, you can't read your history book, you can't read your literature book, you can't even read street signs. So you need these skills. So it really impresses me how much emphasis Dare County puts on that and cares about their students. Emerson, congratulations. That's awesome. Thank you both for your information about the schools. I love hearing what's going on because I may not hear everything. I look forward to the early college program stuff. Thank you, Ms. Fallon. That was very interesting to hear. Can we attend any of the informational meetings? Okay, yeah, I would love to come and see how you present or what you're doing. I think that's fascinating. Mr. Bassnight, we enjoyed the tour of COA the other day. That was really, really wonderful and impressive. And just how the two between COA and early college it's going to be an amazing partnership. So I'm excited. I could go on, the housing, but again, I think it goes back to the literacy program and all the principals that presented, because that means they're on board too with making sure our students are successful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Bright?
Got just a couple things. First of all, I'm continuing to be amazed at how many times someone speaks and says that Dare County is leading in the state, whether it's transportation or the AVID program or whatever. I mean, that's just unreal to me. I really had no idea coming in that we were such leaders, and I appreciate all the staff's work on that. Emerson, man, congratulations on advancing in your scholarship quest there, and we wish you nothing but luck, and we're sure you will succeed there. Glad to hear we hired some maintenance employees. I think that department's been a little lack, and I think a few more heads around there is going to really help things out. And last but not least, the Cape Hatteras Marching Band did win first place in the parade. My son was on the trombone, so we're going to get that out there again. So appreciate everybody that showed up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Bateman?
Well, I think back and I just think about this last month as being in the official capacity of on the board, and I've enjoyed going around to some of the schools already. Mr. Kenny Bright and I went by Cape Hatteras Elementary School, kind of looked around at some different things and just took some stuff in. I want to thank Mr. Luciano and his staff for letting us come in and look around, and Miss Harper at the middle school, I enjoyed going through there. And that program that with the boat that you got Bayless and Crossway involved in. That's incredible. And they, the boat builders are just as jazzed to be a part of it. So that's really cool. Really, really awesome. Y'all have done a great job there. To kind of echo what Mr. Kenny and some of the others have said, Ms. Sproul, Ms. Lambert, y'all are putting it together and putting it out there and bringing all the information to the table for us to see. And we appreciate that and just all the hard work that y'all put into it, as well as the school improvement teams and the plans that y'all have in place. Bang up job. Keep it up. I enjoyed going to the Manteo High School, First Flight High School basketball game. And Manteo fell a little short, but that's okay. That's okay. That was a good time. I enjoyed going there. And I went to my first wrestling match in a long time. That was a good time. Enjoyed that. Couple things coming up real quick. Dare Education Foundation signature event. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you need to get them. You can go online to dareeducationfoundation.org for more details. Macy's in attendance, and I know that they're currently seeking a new executive director, but Macy, honestly, I don't know exactly what her capacity is with the board right now for DEF, but she's really stepped in and grabbed the bull by the horns. I feel like I talk to her at least once every other day about stuff. So I appreciate all that she does and all the energy she puts into it. So that's great. That's Friday, January 31st. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, they're online, dareeducationfoundation.org. I'm just as excited as I was a month ago, if not more excited. You know, and that's the thing. Like we're on the back end of the school year now. Second semester's here. We're ready to come and do whatever we need to do to help you. Okay, we're ready to go. I'm ready to go. Call me if you want to. I don't care. But that's the thing. I love the spirit, like Mr. Luciano was talking about. They're trying to instill into the faculty, instill into the kids. That's what I do. That's what I live off the spirit. I live off the hype. So anything to keep the kids, the faculty, anything we can do to keep you excited about what you do and to keep everybody moving forward, let's rock and roll.
Mr. Payne?
What else can be said? As a former principal and school improvement plans, I know the hard work that you guys put in to drive your school, so thank you. I know it's a ton of work, but it pays off. So ditto with what everybody said. So I always leave with COA, seniors getting ready to graduate. Take a look at COA, Dare Challenge, get to go to school for free, get your certificates for trades. It's a great opportunity. Emerson, you the man.
Mr. Bassine?
Thank you, sir. I did want to say one thing that you mentioned earlier. Early Saturday morning, Dr. Roberts and Steve Blackstock and I met at the Glen Eure Gallery, and we got to do something that I absolutely love doing. We get to select the Superintendent's Award winners. We this year, we scheduled it so we could go in there without the crowd being around and early enough that we could really take some time, figuring we could get it done a little bit quicker. It was not any quicker. We took a good 2 hours walking around there, just the three of us, selecting those. But what I want you to know is, and those of you that have been in central office have seen all the artwork in the hallway. Well, that got cleared out last Friday, because all the new superintendent's winners will come to central office and be on our walls in the lobby when you come in. And it really changes the look of the place. And it's just amazing the number of times that I go in and out those doors that I stop and look at something that I've never seen before. And just love being there the other day. It's tough going through all that artwork, trying to come up with a 23 roughly award winners, because it's so good. So I want to thank all the students that put that artwork together. I want to thank the teachers that helped them do that, because it's really fantastic. And we will appreciate it for the next several months before the next student art show, and we get to select some more superintendent winners. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bassine. As Mr. Payne said, ditto. Makes it a little easier for myself being the last one, but I've got to say, we have a wonderful staff, and it's just from our transportation, our custodians, our child nutrition, our TAs, our school principals, our school teachers. We're blessed. Our central office administration We're very fortunate to have a team that is wanting to work together and build together to make it a better school district for our students. So hats off to you. I know it's a lot of hard work, but it's showing, the results are showing. So with that being said, do I have a motion on the floor to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Payne. Second by Mr. Bright. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Aye carries. Travel safe.